Aquarius, welcome to your May 2020 love reading. It's Raina here. So I'm just starting over again. I I don't know what was going on. I was just like rambling more than usual, which, you can imagine how dire that situation was. So the heart of the matter is the Queen of Wands. I associate this with Leo, because Leo is ruled by the sun, and the Rider-Waite version of this deck, this is the Morgan Greer, also has a woman with a sunflower. So definitely fire energy. The sun rules Leo, so that's where I was going with that. Also royalty. But it's supposed to be Sagittarius, and the other fire sign is Aries. So that might be somebody that you are interested in, involved with. And by the way, if you're currently in a relationship, this reading is intended for, single people, but people who are in relationships that are maybe problematic, or that are problematic. I'm not doing this for people who are doing well in relationships, which kind of makes sense. I mean, that's kind of like, there's no point in worrying about where your relationship is going if you're enjoying it and it feels good. I will say that if you're somebody who is in a relationship and you consider it a happy relationship, and you're still tuning in to love readings, maybe mine or somebody else's, you should really look at that, because it could speak to a fear of that it's going to go away, and that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And especially, I'm specifically thinking of, Aquarians who have the moon in Scorpio, or maybe Pisces, but especially Scorpio, because you're really at odds with yourself emotionally. You might act very detached, but there's that part of you that is terrified of abandonment. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Leave it alone. So anyway, what I see from this card of the Queen of Wands, this is about really loving yourself, honoring yourself. This is how I see it, okay? And perhaps if you're in a relationship that's simply not what you're receiving as feedback from the other person. I'm not talking about 100%, compliments night and day. I'm talking about a general message that you receive from that other person, that you are worthy, that they have respect for you. And if you're being treated disrespectfully, either you need to embrace what the Queen of Wands represents, which is confidence. If you have inner planets, especially in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, the moon in Pisces, Libra, Cancer, you may have a tendency to accept less than you deserve and not understand how injurious it is, how damaging it is. This is something that a lot of people do not take seriously enough. It is not good to be in a relationship where you are not treated like gold, like you are a good person. If you are not treating another person well, that's a different story. You get what you give. I'm actually, that I wouldn't say that, because some people give a lot of love and they get back a lot of abuse. So what I will say is that you get what you expect to get. And even people who are loving people sometimes don't expect to get love in return and don't really feel deserving of it. And think of it that way too. This is the past position, which the Six of Wands can be career accolades, and maybe that has boosted your confidence. And so in your professional life, you feel that, you're worthy, you're being told that you're worthy, and then that migrates into your sense of self-esteem in general, and you no longer are willing to listen to somebody who is tearing you down, yes, that could definitely be a possibility. However, I see with the Six of Wands, people who may be quite, somebody who may be quite, maybe on a path, an Aquarius who might be on a path of personal growth. And because the fire element in the wands represent growth, expansion. So if you're on that path of personal growth, you may be coming into this feeling of self-empowerment, this feeling of, but self-empowerment on the emotional level. The Queen is connected to water element. So it's, to me, it's self-love. But also the desire for freedom because of that love of self. The desire to be set free from any relationship that doesn't serve you because it is not honoring you in some way. Again, not talking about like unbridled worship. We're talking about just basic, like that person thinks the best of you. You know how some people they always think the worst of you? You might have somebody like that in your life who they always ascribe the most negative like agendas to you. Whenever you do something, even if you do something nice for them, they assume that you have some ulterior motive. Those kinds of people are very toxic in your life. The people who get you, and you're not easy to get, Aquarius, so cherish those people very highly. Those are the people that you want in your life at the core level. And one more thing I want to say is it's because both of these cards, the Six of, I told you I think of the Queen of Wands as Leo, but the Six of Wands is considered connected to Leo. So for sure, that card is. And so maybe this is a Leo person. And for certain, Leo may be that type of warm individual who's very positive, who will give you those strokes, those positive strokes. And in any case, and it doesn't mean that their sun is in Leo. Maybe they have Leo rising and they just exude this warmth to everybody. Maybe it's their moon sign. Another thing about this, and of course Leo's your opposite sign, but just in general, if you have met a fire sign individual and they have had a positive impact on your self-esteem. The higher message is the King of Swords. So to me, this could be twofold. On the one hand, if this is your current partner who you're with, maybe there's a fire sign that you have met that is totally different than this individual will be. Because the swords connects with air energy. So you, Gemini, and Libra. And this person may be very detached. They may be, kind of cold. And they withhold their affection. This can be that person playing mind games who is trying to make you doubt yourself, saying little things. When I said psychological warfare, these people, because they're air signs, they know what makes people tick. They know what makes machines tick, and they know that the brain is a machine, the human motivation. They are master manipulators, but unlike water signs, their manipulation is coming through words, through their behavior designed to confound you, keep you guessing. You know what I was thinking? Especially if they are an Aquarius like you, they may do things that seem very random and, nonsensical to try to create a lot of upheaval in your mind. So that you're like, why did they do that? I can't figure them out. Where are they coming from? And it just kind of like scrambles your brains. So as a spiritual message, it's saying that this person is very calculating, and they know what they're doing. They're doing it very methodically. So you have to know what you're dealing with, and you can't be indifferent. Like Aquarius can be indifferent, or like I said earlier, detached to the point where you tolerate a lot of things. Maybe you're very good at tolerating stressful situations, but not realizing how intricate the spider web is that you're in. So just, keep that in mind. This can also be a facet of you, that you are not in touch with your feelings enough. And this has led you, if you're single, to not be able to keep a relationship because the other person may be wanting that sort of warmth, and you're very cold. Especially if you have inner planets in Capricorn, but even Aquarius, I'm talking about the sign of Aquarius itself. Again, you may have the moon in a water sign and you're anything but cold, or a fire sign. Just talking about the archetype of Aquarius. Uh-oh. What is that? I hope that's just somebody without a muffler. Okay. What crosses you is the Queen of Pentacles. So here we have the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, two queens. We're talking about the Queen and King. This can also be parents, parental influence that you still are rebelling against, or you feel that the negative effects from. I would say with the Queen of Pentacles, though, if you are currently in a relationship with somebody and you are, not really financially responsible, let's put it that way. I can't see a lot of Aquarians that are spendthrifts, though. That does not sound like an Aquarius. But who knows? Maybe you have other influences that make you more like that. You may feel like you can't leave this relationship because you don't have financial financial security. And while that may be true, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't consider building it up, One thing too, if you are an Aquarius and your Venus is in Capricorn, you might be a bit of a gold digger. And I'm trying to be lighthearted about it. I don't care. I mean, people get like absolutely insane about that term. Like it's just like you're calling someone the worst thing in the world. Some people, especially some people who grow up without much money, they live in fear of ever having to experience that again. So they want to make sure that the person that they get hooked up with has some bucks, I don't think that's like evil incarnate unless you're being completely phony about it and you're pretending to care and you don't. But if you really do care for this person and they happen to have a lot of money, you've heard that expression, I can fall in love with a rich man as easily as with a poor man. But that's not my philosophy whatsoever, and I haven't lived my life that way. So I want you to know that I don't agree with being a materialistic person, but sometimes people have emotional reasons, even past life fears that can creep up. But that could be another facet of why you're staying with a person, or why you choose the way, a person the way you choose. Again, if your Venus is in Capricorn, you may choose people based on almost like their resume. Like, does this person have, a well-paying job? Do they have a job that has status? And the point is that you're trying to raise your status in life. So you're looking to hitch a ride on them. And again, if that other person understands where you're coming from, and you're not just pretending that you love them and you really are just like can't stand them and you're not attracted to them, but you really, or even if you're doing it and they're doing, and they're arm candy, and you're both, totally aware of that situation and you're willing to go with it, then that's fine in my book. But I think that a lot of those situations, the people, they learn a very valuable lesson, which is that love mattered more to them than they thought, and that they sacrificed a lot of happiness for something which you can't take with you. And it's just, to me, it's actually very sad what happens in those situations many times. I don't think that they turn out well. So I don't want to make light of them, but I will say that the Queen of Pentacles in the challenge position can be some kind of money issue that has to do with your tendency to spend too much, or to want luxury that you can't afford, that's not in your budget, and things like that. Also, if you're dealing with somebody and you're trying to establish a relationship, perhaps the Queen of Wands is that you have a child with somebody. Either this is your husband or your baby daddy, and they have another, they have an ex where they have a child with that person. That certainly is not uncommon these days. And that person is trying to hit them up for more money. Maybe they're trying to get back with them. And you feel like this is a good relationship, but you feel like this person is kind of like allowing, maybe that person is kind of allowing themselves to be manipulated by that other party. And perhaps you're afraid that deep down inside they would like to get back with that person. And so you're afraid that they're both kind of using the child to stay in touch, even though, if you are, obviously if you are, somebody has a child with somebody, they have to, they have to have some kind of communication, but that they're using the child. It's not really, they don't really need to talk as often as they do, or that there's something else going on. Let's put it that way. So that could certainly also be what's going on here. What's coming in is the Seven of Cups. This can be a lot of confusion, wondering what to do about a particular situation. Again, perhaps you're with someone, or you like someone at work even. It could be in your career, your line of work. And if you're somebody who is recently divorced, recently out of a relationship, you may feel like a kid in the candy store and not really want to devote yourself to one particular situation, or not know. I mean, you might be on the market and you're very desirable for whatever reason. So you feel like, what should I do? Should I date like 3 people at the same time? What should I do? Well, it depends on other circumstances. Perhaps, definitely, I think especially somebody who's coming out of a long-term time marriage, I think it's much better to just casually date. And I mean literally date, not getting involved with them physically, but just getting to know different types of people rather than get right into some other type of long-term relationship. Because if you just come out of a long-term relationship, why, go back into that? Well, Aquarius is a fixed sign, so you may be the kind of person who feels more comfortable in kind of like a steady relationship. Like it might be against your nature to kind of date around, and it might feel kind of weird, but you would probably be better off if you've done things one way to try something different, because you never know what will happen. But look at the outcome card, the Page of Wands. I always I always put as a YouTube title, start spreading the news, because this is a card of good news. This is messages that are of a positive nature. But this can be a new relationship with a fire sign. A new relationship that is very passionate. Like I said, you have this fire energy here. Whether it's with a literal fire sign or whether it's a relationship which feels very enlivening, like you have come to life. That you know how somebody does something and they are just they are just in that mode of wash, rinse, repeat, like a relationship that has gone stale, and then all of a sudden they meet somebody new and it's like they're a kid again. Even a middle-aged person, even a senior. There's it's a cliche. It's kind of a cliche, and I can't think of the cliche. It's like but the thing is that it's a cliche because it's actually true. Because a person can have that kind of effect on you. So if you're someone who, and even somebody who's been single for a long time, maybe you've been single for 10 years, and you finally meet your match. You finally meet that person who lights your fire. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And maybe it is a Sagittarian. I'm a Sagittarian, but I'm off the market, so don't hit me up, please. Okay, well, thank you for watching, Gemini. I mean Aquarius. I said Gemini. I'm an Aquarius. Believe me, I know I'm doing this for Aquarius, but because I just did Gemini. Oops. You know how like when you say a person's wrong name, you know how that just kind of like, ugh. And I'm not going to edit this out, so you know this was for you, Aquarius. Because like I said, I mean, this could be a Leo person with the Six of Wands, and that's your opposite sign. So I did say that. I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.